All right. It's the MSI, ladies and gentlemen. Players are here from the PML, the PCL, and of course the PPL a little bit later. We are ready for a slobber knocker of a weekend. Nicholas Keogh, and I'm Rain Day for those of you who don't forget, at least haven't forgotten the voice quite yet.
Absolutely, man. I'm super excited for this one. This has been a long build-up. One of the longer splits we've ever had to lead into an event like this. The MSI is the first cross-play-enabled Paladins tournament we have ever had. So
Crazy.
like you mentioned, every single scene coming together, and we're truly going to be able to serve up the best of the best.
It's pretty amazing, Nick, when you look at everything that has happened with Paladins as a scene, going from the amateur leagues really being the only way to qualify to these now consistent leagues where the console league, the minor league, the PPL can kind of separate and show who they are, what they're about as squads for a consistent period of time, not like against all these random competitors. But now it's almost a little bit of a reverse. We're saying, okay, we're taking the evolutionary species that has kind of survived to the end, the survival of the fittest, and we're taking that to the next level, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a huge fun part about it, is that you have so many different people coming from so many different parts of the world. It's always been such an international scene, but now it's time for all of those players to kind of come together, and I think we're going to get better competition as a result. We've seen that in the PPL. We've never seen a more competitive league in Paladins, when the top 6 can really take games off of each other at any moment, and they are all here at this event to prove that they're the best.
Well, what's lovely is you can see our bracket here for today. Just to walk it down, we've got quarters and semis and finals showing up for the rest of the 2 days that you'll be watching. And then we'll get into the PPL teams once we've qualified winners here. But it's going to be Elevate and Sour Team going up against each other. First off, we'll see Flashpoint and Sanguine as well. The winners of those 2 matches will face each other in the semis. Then we'll have Cyclone GG and Hype Unit, and then Nemesis and Penta. So the best of the best in both console and in PC. We'll even have some players from console switching over to mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I went in there to look in the Elevate booth. A couple of those players, I believe they have 2 running mouse and keyboard, and it's just going to be kind of moving around on a team-by-team basis. I don't know who's going to necessarily prefer this. I would imagine it's going to be those higher, flick sensitivity type of DPS players.
I know Scappy will be.
And things like that.
Yeah, a few of those guys, especially on Flashpoint, Prosper, I think Scappy, I think they're going to be trying. I think Legacy might as well. I heard that through a little bit of the grapevine, but we'll see what ends up happening here. Let's talk a little bit about Sour Team, though, because they're our first matchup. They're going up against one of the premier console teams in Elevate, but we want to talk about a guy who's already been here before.
Sure.
Sour Team, Perdo, Ninu, Sheepa, they've been to LAN, but not this split. But Zarini has. He filled in for Na'Vi when Mutu was gone and Phoenix had to do that flex DPS, and now he's back with his real team.
And the real benefit, in my opinion, is that he's probably learned so much from that experience. Zarini getting play time with Na'Vi, just getting to hear how they draft, how they communicate, things like that is a really nice thing for him to be able to bring back to his team. But then who are you bringing this back to? You're bringing this knowledge back to Sheepa, Perdo, Nino, and they're probably like, yeah, sure, okay, we get it.
It's a really funny kind of dynamic because it's almost as if Perdo and Sheepa and Ninu were kind of sending Zarini forward to say, young one, learn the ways of the Jedi and come back to us once you've mastered the lightsaber. It's like you have to almost consider Zarini the one who really finally caught up to his teammates versus him bringing back that knowledge. And when you can see a team like that performing, but not only with the experience, it's a little scary. I don't know how I really feel Sour Team will perform throughout the entirety of the tournament, but they've got to be strong favorites heading into this matchup.
Right, they absolutely are. I think a lot of these guys have proven themselves time and time again on lots of different lands. We've got Sheepa and Perdo, who are some of the most winningest Paladins players of all time. Not recently, but they're those old seasoned veterans that are no strangers to this stage. They're no strangers to this elevated level of competition they will be facing in this week and into the week.
It is kind of also something that most teams, and I guess most viewers don't really recognize, but Perdo and Sheepa may be strangers to the screen now, but were the guys who were starting out Paladins when it first began over in Young Shopping. They were one of our first winners of that tournament with that elusive team of Elvenpath, Bugsy, Sheepa, and Perdo. Those boys, Jera, those guys who have been really doing this forever. Yeah. So they're now back. They have a little bit of a redemption arc into them. If they could somehow make a run, even if it's to the full final semis or even the finals, maybe even a win, that would be huge for them, not only for this tournament, the expectations, the prize money, but also just what a redemption story that would be, fighting all the way through the minor league to have that kind of impact.
So, especially because you have a lot to prove when the team that you left, NIP, you left them as like a third place team not necessarily the great spot, never really performing up to those expectations. You leave, a couple of new people come in, and all of a sudden that team is just dominant.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say that you weren't the problem, but we know that it's not just players. Everyone's good. Sometimes the fit is wrong. And
exactly
NIP,
that.
obviously a team that's really, really strong here. They're going to be playing in the next couple of days. Obviously, if you're just joining us now, we've got qualifying with the PML and the PCL teams. What that ends up meaning is that we're going to have console and minor league going head-to-head. Usually, that would mean controller and obviously mouse and keyboard, but some of these console players are switching over to mouse and keyboard. We talked about that. Will we see a little bit of that in this first set? We'll have to find out, but right now let's talk to Gormizer, who's down on the floor with Shipra from Sour Team. Let's see what they have to say heading into this first match.
This is Elevate, and I kind of want to ask you, I mean, everyone in this room has played on LAN before. 4 of you have been in the PPL. How are you feeling about today?
Good.
If you, I guess you're looking at Elevate. Elevate, I think, is the console team right now that everyone's kind of delivered as the most likely to cause an upset. Do you have any worries about them as a team, or do you see yourself going into like the full MSI bracket?
I think we are going full, like no worries at all.
No worries at all. So is there anything specifically out of a console team or out of Elevates that you're kind of worried about that they're going to pull out, or do you think you have everything that you need on lock?
I think we have everything. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Well, there you have it. It's going to be good coming down from this one. Everything's going to be great here from Sour Team, and we'll leave them to get ready. We'll go back to the desk.
Well, riveting is one of many words I would use to describe that interview. Shipra rivaling Diggy Dog with his vernacular, his myriad of words used in that sentence. Might have been an all-time low, to be honest, as far as an interview goes. I think he got under 10 words in all 3 of his responses totaled. But
clear,
Shipra,
concise,
he
to
knows
the point,
he knows what he wants.
Just like Sour Team's gameplay.
There you go.
Just like that's how they're setting the bar for today. It's going to be clear, clean, concise.
No frills.
I expect nothing less from this squad once they get in a game as well.
I think that's maybe a sign that these guys, you know, and it takes a certain type of personality to do what they've done in Paladins and be at the top, go down a little bit, kind of not really know where you are, battle all your way up to the mid-level, and now start fighting here in LAN again. So you obviously know they are focused, maybe not men of words, but men of action, that's for sure. Let's switch the tables here, talk a little bit about Elevate, their console competition.
Yeah.
What is the hope if you are a console fan, if you're rooting for Elevate? What do you have to rely on here to say that these guys might have a chance against these boys?
Well, Elevate is one of the strongest competitors from the console scene. We know that, but one thing that they have, and that I've always sort of wondered about with console, is that there's so many different, the regions and the console combinations, that sometimes these incredible stats that Elevate puts up in the regular season can be misleading.
Yep.
I don't think it's purely coincidence that NA PS4 is the most competitive region in the console, because NA Xbox is dominated by these guys. Everyone's trying to dodge these guys, which means by proxy they don't necessarily get the best competition throughout the season, and the competition throughout the season is what has defined so much of the PPO, and that's a little bit what scares me about the PCL, is that if the depth of competition isn't necessarily there, then these guys unfortunately probably won't improve a whole lot during the regular split. It's not until scrim time, boot camp, that they really start to hit their stride and see what else is happening out there in the wild.
Interesting to really look at the way Shu and his team has kind of transitioned throughout the rest of these years, because they started out very strong favorites without the ability to kind of close things out. Ever since going into that last World Championship and having the success that they did, I think the confidence is now fully within them, knowing that not only did we think we could do it, we've now done it, we've won a championship, and now we're able to go ahead and look to the midseason and secure our foothold, where a lot of other teams have stolen storylines. Obviously, the switch from Skeppy all the way over to the different region, playing with Prosper. Now, that's a big storyline. A lot of people looked at that. But the fact that Shu and Elevate are still here, still confident, I think that says a lot. And a lot of people think that if Sour Team, if any PML team is going to get upset, this might be the team to do it.
We'll have to see.
All right, well, let's take it down. Gormizer is standing by with none other than Shu himself. See what Elevate have to say about their upcoming game.
Well, I'm here with Shu from Elevate, and I guess the best way to start this interview off is you get to be the first console team to play up, going up against Sour Team. How's everybody feeling today?
I think we're all feeling as well as we can about today. We do have a sub. One of the best player in the game couldn't make it, Kyle. He's out, but we're going to do our best.
And I was actually really happy to see, because, with the option crossplay LAN, you could play controller, you could play keyboard and mouse. A couple of guys in here have opted, yourself being one of them, but you're coming in. You have, I think, a lot of community support behind you. I've seen a lot of people saying this is going to be maybe a 3-2, either for you or for Sour Team, either way, going all 5 games. And that's, I want to say, monumental. This is the first crossplay LAN. How do you feel like, do you think that this team can bring it together and bring it home for the 6?
I think we can do it. We have to play very well. I think it'll be a close set either way, and should be some good games.
So a couple of people in here, as well as Sour Team, like a lot of LAN experience across these 2 teams. They've played in the PPL. They've played on countless LANs otherwise. How are you feeling, like, I guess, as they're, like, against them specifically, as them as a team?
I think we're less worried about them as a team and more worried about performing ourselves. I think that's the most important thing. Just got to play as best as you can, regardless of the situation.
Well, play your game, and good luck in it as you go forward. That's going to do it here for Elevate. Let's go ahead and toss it back up to the desk as we get upset for Game 1.
All right. Well, upset could be the thing that happens here. That's what we're looking for. If Elevate can finally do what no team has been able to do in the Console League, and that's in a tournament officially take down a team not in the Console League. It's one of the first opportunities they've had to do so, but it's still a momentous occasion. Do you think they're up for the task, Nick?
I think so. I think the biggest thing that I was concerned about with the console teams cross-playing against some of these minor league teams who have been admittedly better than they ever have been before.
Yeah.
And one thing that I wanted to make sure that the console teams didn't do was beat themselves before they even got here, right? There was a lot of negativity on Twitter beforehand, and a lot of that stuff's understandable. It's a big kind of scary new step, but I think it's one that's right for the scene overall, and one that's just going to be very, very fun to watch. So hopefully these guys come in here kind of with that mentality that you had. It seems like they're in a good headspace. They're ready to do, despite the unfortunate, happening with the sub situation, the last possible second. It's all stuff weighing on them, but they still seem to be in a good headspace, and that's really what's most important, because if you can't even bring that, then they shouldn't even bother showing up.
Yeah. Do you think this is a teeter-totter kind of situation where if this goes really well for Elevate, everyone else on the console side of things gets a lot of confidence going into their matchups? And
absolutely.
If the opposite is true as well, if things go really bad, does that kind of start to,
I think at the end of the
get a
day,
little tight around the neck?
It's something that's going to be, it really comes down to how they're feeling mentally. But I feel, though, as if the console can come in and get those, like the first point, God forbid, if they get the first map, I think this becomes very, very spicy. And sometimes even those first points, we've all been in that situation. We've all been in that ranked game where you're feeling good about something or you're not feeling good about something, and then, maybe it goes the way you're expecting. Maybe you don't get that first point. They get the first 2-0, and you're just kind of sitting there down 2-0 when you're expected heavily favored to win, but you're not. You're down that 2-0 situation. That's where I think things could get really interesting, and people's mentality could start to tilt or shift, especially if you're a PC team feeling very favored and you find yourself down 0-2. You're feeling like the laughing stock of the land right now. I think things could get interesting.
It will be interesting. I can almost just guarantee it's going to be an interesting weekend for you guys. It's Sunday. I keep having to remind myself that it is not Monday because we're getting the 4th of July. It's like summertime. All the days start to blend in a little bit. So hopefully you're having fun as well. You're off school, or maybe you don't even go to school, you're off work, whatever it is, you're here enjoying. And we've got some games coming up very, very soon for all of you. To start it off, it will be Elevate, it will be Sour Team. We've got picks and bans and maps coming in very soon. But the big thing is, do you expect the meta, any changes here? I know Shu on Twitter had mentioned that he's confident. He said that his team has been scrimming against a lot of other PC teams, and that their meta is different than before because they've been being able to be exposed to what PC players' preference. Do you think that will tilt the way of the PC players and console just be trying to catch up, or will console bring out some unique console things?
There's a couple of big points about the meta that I was really, really interested to see how they played out into the MSI. Eevee was a big one, right? Eevee, we all knew was going to be a problem for console players, being able to turn and whip around fast enough to play that character effectively. Right. However, Eevee suddenly kind of, especially in the last few weeks, became a ban, a viable ban that PC teams were banning against PC teams. So this now becomes not necessarily something that the console teams are having to crutch themselves on and ban every time. It's actually something they could viably ban every time.
Yeah.
But with the ability to play MKB, you could see some of these console players step up and play Eevee.
That's great, man. That's a great point. The Eevee thing is super unusual, and Ice Mines will be the first map as well for these guys. It's a unique pick, but it gives teams time. And that's, I think, what's the most important resource right now. We often say in real world, it's the most important resource in lifetime. Yeah. And same thing goes for when you're starting out a tournament against a PC team when you haven't played them before in a LAN environment. Elevate trying to just get as much information as possible, and so they're going to get into the pick. Seems like Ash will be the first ban to come through for Sour Team, and that is something that has been a unique kind of approach in this season, the ability for Ash to almost take on the role of Ruckus, where she's got these significant changes at the start of the season, and some teams heavily prioritize her. We see her first picked at the NIP, so to speak, with Diggy Dog. Sometimes she's banned, sometimes she's not picked at all, in a very unusual thing.
Well, one big thing that I also want to pay attention to is that Eevee is going to be a big part, but not necessarily of Ice Mines. And another couple of picks that started to pop their heads out in force were actually those Tyras and those Vivians, two big staples of the console scenes. We're looking at maybe those being a really big part in playing in these console versus PC, these minor league teams, if they're paying attention to what the PPL is starting to do. There could be something there. Space Station Gaming specifically playing a ton of Tyra, playing a ton of Vivian recently. As far as what tanks we're seeing banned, those seem to still be pretty standard. The Atlas coming through second for Sour Team, and Mr. Makoa will come through as the first pick.
All right. Interesting stuff here, man. I think we look at the way that these teams have to make these decisions with so many power picks now, and it does force things like the Makoa, which is in the textbook, do not ever let go kind of. That's number one on the list, to be let go because of other things forcing your hand, so to speak. And so Elevate now have to respond. They've given one of the most veteran PC teams with Purdo and Sheepa, one of the most veteran, highly performing champions in Makoa, and now they've got Khan and Barrick to kind of bounce back and give them some stabilization and some damage. It's definitely a good pick, 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm worried about giving Sour Team that Makoa in your first game on LAN.
I am as well. We saw this in one of the final weeks when SSG played Na'Vi. One of their, what we hypothesized to be strategies was to let these powerful off-tanks go to Phoenix. And maybe he would, mess up with them. Or maybe the strategy they had planned around this would work. They tried to do it twice. It failed miserably twice. So Elevate is going to need to have some type of strategy around this. Or they're just trying to bank on the fact that maybe Sheepa won't be able to completely take over the game and annihilate that. Again, we talk about Peridot, we talk about Sheepa being two of the most winningest players of all time in the Paladin scene. I don't know if that's where I'm putting my eggs.
Yeah, it's a hard one. And now you've got Nunu on Cassie, who is such a solid performer on the Cassie. If that's where they go, he obviously could flex onto a blaster later, but if they do keep something like a Leon, a lot of times later on you will see Purdo grab that choice up. Nunu, such a consistent and high-performing Cassie, whether it's big game or whether it's Impulse, which we've seen in Europe, and a lot of the other kind of, some of the other DPS players start to prioritize. Rock Monkey as well plays a little bit of Impulse for Envy. We'll see him later on in the week. Grok and Terminus, though, Nick, how do you feel about these bad boys? This is a bad boy squad right here. This is...
It certainly is. They're going to be rolling deep with,
they're past
three
elevator weight right here,
with a lot of Grok healing throughput to come through and keep these fatties upright and centered. Elevate, they're playing with what they've got right now. Like they mentioned in that interview, one of their best players, one of the best DPS players the console's ever seen, unable to make LAN this time. They're playing with a lot of frontline players. They're playing to their strengths right now. They're playing with what they've got, and they're going to give it their best shot.
So triple frontline with the Grok. Sour Team have seen this coming. The Cassie probably one of the single best champions to deal with a triple frontline, but they need something else, and wouldn't you know it? Drogo's coming in. That'll be Nunu on that most likely. Cassie will be Purdo, and then the Grover here to round out for Sour Team. Elevate looking to keep things a little bit more interesting with the Sky. How do you feel, man? I mean, they've gone like we're going ham. We're out there.
Yeah,
we're committed.
They're playing what they're playing right now. I think the Drogos is going to do its best, and they have big game as well. They have everything they need on paper. Sour Team, that is, to deal with these three front lines. On paper as well, Sky can somewhat handle this Makoa. We've seen it fall flat on its face before. On paper, these guys have drafted what they need to deal with each other, and it's going to be a great one.
Well, it's going to be crazy here. Let's get the MSI started, ladies and gentlemen. Let's send it down to your casters, Gormizer and Dolson.
Thank you very much, guys, on the desk. I'm excited to get this one started, Gore. It's a great day to have a day, and today is that day. We're going to have it Elevate versus Sour Team, match number 1. And we were joking, you look at these drafts, there's so much speculation. What are teams going to pick? How is all this going to pan out? And we kind of looked at it, we were like, it's kind of a very PC versus console draft right now. The teams get what they're comfortable with here on Ice Mines.
Well, I've also seen Kresnik hanging around. He might have been drafting here. I mean, this is a lot of Space Station picks as well. They're the ones that have tried the Sky in the Premier League. They're the ones that have brought out the Terminus. The triple frontline, though, it's solid on Ice Mines. Shu, I will unashamedly admit he is the only Grok player that I've stolen a loadout from before. So, like, if there's anyone who's going to try to make this work,
was it the healer Grok?
It was the healer Grok. And if there's anyone who's going to make it work, I think Shu's going to be the one to do it.
Let's take a look at his loadout, jumping into the first battle here. Exodia with an early trade on this guy. Perdo, you got to watch out for this guy on the Cassie as well. One of his best champions, one of the most talented players in our minor league here. Early Death Volley composition coming out from Elevate right now. First blood, though, that goes the way of Sour Team.
Just being able to find these shots is going to be good for 2 right there. That Sky, unfortunately, not able to flank around, I think, where she wanted to. She's a good counter pick for Makoa, but, well, you need the team to be able to protect you, and right now there's no team.
Yeah, kills 1, 2, 3, 4 all go the way of blue. And it's a very dangerous map to be zoned out on. To be staggered this heavily, you have to break through a pretty solid front line here from Sour Team. So not paying off early on here from Elevate. The Terminus pick was interesting as well, but you thought it had some merit.
Well, it's one of those things. On Ice Mines specifically, we've seen it work. Like, I was actually telling you, you go HRX, the one where Na'Vi was able to win. Terminus was the turning point for Nocturnes Gaming on this map. He's a very, very big pick, can work on here, but obviously it's not fully functional. I think that comes down to Sour Team right now being, well, 5 power picks strong for their team.
Yeah, I mean, you pick the Sky that hopefully deals with the Makoa. Hasn't been able to do so just as of yet. Close retake attempt that came through at the end. Big stun comes out from Yui. No kills just as of yet, though. Ninu has the only one in this little engagement. Shu, the healer for Elevate, is gone. That's going to result in a couple more deaths here. And Elevate, for the second time this game, find themselves fully swept.
And it's just rolling. This is going to be downhill from here. 2 minutes to be able to get this in, but it's a very, very strong start, and that's actually one of the most dangerous things to have happen on Ice Mines. Getting out of the base, or I guess of where the point spawns, is probably more difficult depending on how even the teams are.
Sure.
Once you get it rolling, like, you get 3/4 of this push easily. It depends on how well Elevate can hold right here, right outside their base, and a little bit more of an open area and kind of keep Sour Team held back, because if they lose 1-2 members, this payload's going to get pushed hard.
As hard as it is to push on Ice Mines, they definitely have the momentum going in their favor right there. The Tempest comes out from Elevate, maybe start something off for them, but Zarini has the only kill. Finally, kills coming up for Red. That's wonderful. Time Bomb up onto the high ground. Might deal with this Ancient Raging Makoa, and it does just that. Couple kills come up Red, and Sour Team for the moment are stalled out.
I mean, you know what hurts 10,000 HP? It's going to be percent damage, and that is exactly what burns through Exodia. Finally being able to kind of get off on the right foot this time around. Zarini looking to be staggered out here, and this is gorgeous to do. Wait just a little bit longer. You have to make sure he gets locked down. We've seen too many plays where people have not successfully staggered on Ice Mines, but they're going to be able to get him off, and that's going to be 7 seconds where he's not with his team, and then probably another 10 seconds before he can catch up.
I think that payload was not that close when that engagement started. I feel like Zarini was just hanging around down low, traded out a kill, realized his team might not win that fight, and just kept the payload moving forward. At this point, any sort of advantage from Sour Team pushes this one through. There are 35 seconds left, so Elevate whittling down the clock, exactly what they need to do, and they're doing a good job of it so far. Elevate with a 4-strong stack over here on the side. That's what you need to do. Good stun over onto the Makoa. Sheepa back in the action here. Dragon Punch comes flying through. That's going to find Wonderful. He's back. That's a 4v5 advantage here from Sour Team. Zarini holding down this main ground. Seismic Crash is available as well, but now 2 kills from the Dragon. They might not need it. 1/3 comes out from Sheepa. 2-0 up. Go Sour Team.
And that's one of those stressful moments as a Terminus where you have to wonder, do I pop reanimate where I can guarantee damage onto them because they have to be on the point? Or do I save it for the next round? Like, next round, it's going to be more important, so I like the call to hold on to it. 2-0. Again, on Ice Mines, you're looking normally at 3-3 point fights. This is going to be comeback mechanic for Elevate. Everything's kind of sitting back in their favor. But the biggest thing is where they can position this guy. I've been mentioning, like, she's really good to counter out Makoa. She's really good to burn down Zarini on that Inara. But the problem is you've got a big game Cassie. That's great against triple frontline. You've got Drogas, who's just great against triple frontline. Like, 5 power picks for Sour Team, 5 picks they're all very comfortable with, 2 picks that can burn down Elevate's composition a little faster than I think Elevate were prepared for.
I think so, yeah.
And I think that's why they need to play this almost picture perfect. Like, everything on this point fight has to go exactly right.
Well, a lot of the pieces are different, but I remember one of the couple of PPL games that we had last week, they let a Makoa through and tried to answer with the Sky, and it just didn't really work out. The overpower in onto Jopi, so no more healing for Sour Team. Good start from Elevate. A second kill comes through. A third now in the form of Trenzik onto Sheepa. So Elevate have won themselves this mid fight. It's how well can you zone? Can we make the most of this 4% per tick?
Perdo's kind of in the most awkward position, I think, right now. He's going to be able to pop the scout. He has vision. He's had CC immunity.
It could get dangerous if they forget about him.
Back here, but it's 89% already here for Elevate. They should be able to capture this.
Yeah, he's going to be the one to roll in, get the touch. The Tempest comes out as an answer, but Perdo gets absolutely blown up. The team is back, 99%, overtime ticking away. Ninu finds an answer kill on the side of Sour Team, but a second kill from Shu in this fight opens things up. Trenzik answering back. Both teams back and forth, 1 for 1. Shu making the most of his uptime in this engagement. Jopi trying to vine his way back in there, but Elevate, they come out on top. They're going to get point number 1, and they're looking for point number 2 on this push.
2 in a row, 2 full wipes for them. Again, kind of mirroring what we saw Sour Team do on their end. And getting it at the right time, you're going to be able to get some damage off here, get some good payload percentage. But you can see Sour Team are pushing up a little harder, I think a lot sooner than what we saw. They're going to look for a defense right around this corner. They're going to look to just hold them back, find a pick like that, and you can set yourself up for success.
Yeah, already the payload much further back than we saw on the opposite side. Sheepa, these hooks have been hitting time and time again throughout this game. Looks like a lost fight at the moment for Elevate. Some damage getting traded back onto Sheepa. Poison just ticking away. The healing's good, but Yui's going to jump back in, capitalize on that one. Zarini answers back to even things up. The reanimate comes right on through for Yui, so that Terminus is going to have a little extra uptime in this one. The stun comes down. Wonderful on the backside. Gets a kill. This payload, it's moving forward yet again.
This is the biggest thing. How long does Yui stay alive? He got really low there, and if that rocket connects, he's going to go down. That is the downside of Reanimate. Sometimes it's great to have a second life, but what do you do with that second life?
Yeah, well, right now he needs to stay alive through a Dragon Punch. Finds it on the second attempt. Trenzik goes down. Ninu has a double in this one. 3 now for Sour Team with Jopi hitting these long-range axes so well. And Sour Team found a little bit of footing. 1 minute and 15 seconds left for Elevate. Still plenty of time. Exit stage right. Goes the hook. Wonderful goes down as well.
I'm happy. This is the first time this entire game they've kind of slowed down just a little bit. Like, just foot off the gas pedal for a second, trying to figure it out. And this is the big thing. Sky, she's very hit or miss. True. Almost literally, because if you miss your poison bolt, you're gone. But it's also in this moment of her best bet is going to be dealing with Sheepa or getting into the back line, dealing with either the Jogos or the Cassie. Like, you're going to be looking for pretty much 3 targets. Inara's not bad for you. It's not like the end of the world, but those are who you want to prioritize. That's where Exodia is trying to go. The problem is just getting back there. And how do you do it? Especially on a map like this. Yes, you have the stealth. Yes, you have a little bit more mobility, but you're not going to be able to sneak up on a team like Sour Team. They're expecting that right now.
And they know where you're coming from. If you're Elevate, you have 4 ultimates. Only Reanimate is down, 4 ultimates on the opposite side. That's a good hook. Yui's going to be able to get out, but here comes the time bomb. Is it going to find any damage? Doesn't do so at the moment. Sheepa, though, trades back. Yui finally going down. Shu, a little bit of an answer here, but it is still a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Sour Team. 8 seconds left. Payload nowhere close to going through. You imagine this will be a good defense for Sour Team. The last mid-fight was very convincingly in favor of Elevate, I would say, but they just could not find their footing on this push.
Honestly, I think they still have the same tools in their arsenal to make it work for them. And a lot of it is, where does that overpower go and how quickly does it land? They got Grover almost immediately at the beginning of that fight, and I think that was the biggest difference, was just being able to get rid of the healing, which hurts Inara, it hurts Makoa, it hurts Drogas, it hurts Cassie. Like, it's the cornerstone for everything in the game. When your support dies, you typically die with them. And they have the overpower ready. They have a Tempest to be able to hit the gas pedal to get aggressive again. And I mean, that's 90,000 healing coming down from Jopi. That is 90,000 healing you can get rid of if you kill him off as fast as possible.
Good amount of healing coming through from Exodia on the Sky as well. Almost matching the Grok. That kind of stood out to me. Sour Team, though, they're going to look to wrap this one up here. Ninu having a game and a half to start off the MSI on this Drogos. Dragon Punches have been good. That's available for this final fight as well. The Fire Spits are all hitting right now. Here comes the Death Ball. Tempest rips through. Exodia finds the first one onto Sheepa. Sour Team have to back off. 2 onto Perdo. It's all on to Ninu to do some damage right now. He's doing what he can, but he has to back off and Elevate yet again. They show what they're trying to do. They pull out that Tempest, the overpower as well. and they might just get point number 2.
And honestly, I think this screams aloud what Elevate's composition does. It's something that you see from the beginning. Triple frontline means one thing and one thing only. It is, we're going to take an early loss, and we're going to drag you to 3-3, and we're going to win just because we're stalwart. Right now, you're looking for a touch if you're Sour Team, though, and they're going to be able to get rid of Sheepa before you can fully go in. The rest of the team's here, so they're going to be able to touch down.
The ultimate's starting to fly from Sour Team.
Oh, no.
Whirlwind's going to top him off. The healing is now gone. Ninu's staying alive, but they have no healing to supplement it. They do end up winning the fight. A double kill from the Dragon this time. Sour Team, they're on the point. They're zoning out for maybe win number 1.
And that's what they needed. They needed a little more zone, a little more pressure. One more pick could have stopped that from coming through. Unfortunately, I think Makoa, especially with Ancient Rage, prolonged his life just enough to distract Elevate. Now everyone's set up. Healing's going to be good. Joby's here. Yui doesn't have Reanimate yet. Won't be able to revive from this, and he's looking to go down.
Yeah, he's very, very low right now, and it's not going to matter. Sour Team, they're on the point. The zone is perfect, and the win is on the side of Sour Team. This time, 4-1 they go on Ice Mines. They obviously did a little bit of homework banning out some of the strong maps on the side of Elevate, playing their composition very well. Letting the Makoa through, that's always an interesting thing to look at. You always wonder, if I'm going to let it through, what's the answer? And they didn't really have an answer for it. And Ninu as well, when he's playing that way on Drogos, you're going to have a hard time.
Well, in the Premier League and now at MSI, we've seen Sky come through as the counter for Makoa.
That's right.
And on paper, it makes sense. Hasn't won any of those games yet so far. Still a 100% loss in her columns.
Well, game 1 of the MSI is in the books. Let's send it to the desk and hear what they're thinking.
Well, Elevate go 12-0 for their season, but they dropped their first game of the Paladins competitive year on their first matchup in this land to Sour Team 4-1. Sour Team, obviously, with the Makoa, with the veteranship of PC players, and just Perdo and Sheepa and how long they've been playing, they seem like they had a good grip on that for the entirety of the game.
Well, you look at what each team had to deal with each other on paper. You had your big game Cassie, you had your Dragon Punches, and those Fire Spits were hitting 3 or 4 people because that was the most true form of a death ball that I think I've seen in a long time.
Yep.
So really good counters there that actually played out. When you look at the Sky, playing half shell kind of takes away a little bit of the potency of what Debilitate normally looks to do against that character. Normally you're looking at that high HP pool. You want to counter that out. And it was a good showing in the first round, but you know, Elevate being able to bounce back and play around some of their ultimates was awesome to see.
And you didn't see the same level of ability to utilize Wrecker as some other champion compositions with 2 or 3 DPS would have had because they had 3 front lines. So the ability for Half Shell to not only counter that, but also counter some of the item choices. Say you're going to pick up Wrecker, which is lame really to have on all of your front lines because you need other priorities. Or you're just not going to have it, and Half Shell is going to be even better against all of your team. It was a great pick by them. And overall, we could see that a lot of these teams had many moments in their fight, but really it was a turning point in one of the team fights. I think it was round 2, actually.
Yeah, round 2, the first team fight that Console was able to win over PC. Let's take a little look back at it. Here on Ice Mines, a very Death Ball-y style of composition run by Elevate. You can see Perdo tried to roll in here, try to get something done, but the damage had already been completed. They come back in and try and roar this one. There's a lot of ultimates flying either ways, but again, we stressed kind of throughout the season how important it was for Elevate and for teams that want to win these fights to use their ultimates first. That's what is so important. When you're looking at fights like this, because you see these guys, you see Sour Team coming back in, try and get this one through. Because everybody's able to be clumped up on the point, you're seeing Perdo. Remember, Perdo is somewhere back here.
Right.
He's somewhere off screen.
He's chilling.
And so everyone has to come in. You see Perdo, he rolls in 4v5. You don't really like to see that. That's kind of forced. Sour Team don't have a lot more to work with. Then Zorini has to kind of come in. Jopi's right here the whole time, just sort of freaking out, trying to make sure he can get his team back in. And now you're going to see everybody come in for the take back. Gore mentioned it's important they don't forget about Perdo, but they kind of did because he kind of comes rolling in from off screen. It's unfortunate that it happened that way. Perdo had no other choice. He had to keep that round going. Everybody else is flooding in from this side, trying to get their ultimates off, trying to make some type of value here, but it just did not pan out for Sour Team.
And he goes for a shoe there as well in his initial attempt, but one of the bigger things that it looks like is important is the fact that Yui has that really reanimate from Terminus the entire time. Ninu goes for the Dragon Punch onto Exodia, but he could have gone to Yui, but he knew that if he did, he's just going to reanimate and kill them anyway. It was almost like they realized they were put in too big of a position, pinched, and then they also could not make anything happen as a result due to that Terminus ultimate. It's one of the things that people forget about him. When he has reanimate, probably one of the strongest. Like, there's nothing I can do to win this point fight characters in all of Paladins. And so Elevate using at least a little bit of the moments there to some success to find some points. Wasn't enough, but they at least did get on the board. So in Game 2, we're going to be hoping to see if they can put up even more of a fight. But as a console fan, how are you feeling now looking at that result, saying, feeling good about our run here?
Well, I'm almost looking at Elevate as a whole and like what they're having to work with today. They said, they were kind of laughing. We got a lot of frontline players here today. We have a lot of substitute action going on. So they're doing what they can with what they've got, and because of their substitute situation, they may no longer be the most likely to take a game. Not only do I think they have one of the hardest matchups at the MSI in this play-in bracket, Sour Team is an incredible squad that I expect to go not only out of this play-in bracket, but maybe getting some games in the finals section as well. So Elevate's dealing with what they have to deal with today, so I'm not placing too much of the pressure on them to perform. They went for something big and boisterous in game number 1. We're looking at just 2 keyboard players here for Elevate. This is a cross-play event. These guys can elect to play with the MKB if they want, despite qualifying through on controller.
Now, I wonder what that conversation is like, because if I'm thinking, I think it's a much better idea to play mouse and keyboard, am I thinking about myself, or am I applying this to the entire team and saying, guys, it's obviously better to play mouse and keyboard? And then am I having my boys say, nah, I don't think it is? Are we having arguments about it? Are we saying, everyone do you, play the best that you can? It's an interesting dynamic because, I could see some leaders saying, guys, let's just try to learn this so we could be on the same page. And I'll also be some leaders saying, you know what, we want the best version of you. If you don't feel comfortable, trust yourself, and I'll be doing this as well because I think this is the better end.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think not only do you have certain characters and specifically roles, I think, that are going to be higher performers on keyboard. Specifically, like if you have to play something like an Eevee, she's the big one you talk about when being able to struggle on controller playing that character. If you're the guy that's probably likely to have to play Eevee, then I want you playing on the mouse and keyboard. But if you're a frontline or you play a lot of tracking hit scan or things like that, and you've done okay in the past on controller, and that's what you're most comfortable on, then to me, you're good to go there. I don't think I see much of an issue to request a change.
All right, well, we're getting into game number 2 here. Sour Team with a really nice start over Elevate on Ice Mines. That map usually takes a little longer. This one was a bit shorter, not to Elevate's happiness, but they will have another chance to kind of redeem themselves here as we head to Serpent Beach. Leon banned out, and the Eevee, obviously champion-specific bans due to this map. And that is going to at least allow Elevate to relax, knowing they don't have to worry about those crazy sensitivity controls for the controller or the mouse this time around.
And we talked about this going into, and this applies to, I think, every matchup here in the first section of the play-in, is that Eevee would have probably been a ban anyway for these console teams. But given the way that the PC meta started to shift, she was just such an impactful character.
She was.
It's been required for every single PPL and PML team to have an Eevee player, to the point where in some of the bigger time Eevee matchups, we're talking Freeze Gods, Fishekos, Random Noobs, things like that, she's getting banned out. Completely legitimately. She'll take a seat for the majority of the set even. So now the fact that Elevate and console teams are likely to have had to ban this character, now they can justify it. It was something that was already happening. In combination with the Tyras and the Vivians being more popular, I think console has a good chance because of all of these later game meta shifts that we have seen.
Well, we're seeing the Genos here. So Sour Team kind of threatening at a triple DPS. Elevate have to respond here. We've seen many different options taken, but what they will do is take the Makoa that works so well against them, notably Sour Team passing that up. But knowing Khan was also available, and so was Torvald. So a huge damage amp potential here. If the Grandpa and Cassie are grabbed up, you can expect something like a big game. And they're just going to go for the Barrack here. Not worried about Elevate snagging that Torvald, apparently. They may not even need it, but it's still an option for them.
And they get the Cassie yet again. A lot of big game potential counters on the board. Elevate with the Makoa and the Khan early. A lot of big boys on the front line already. Sour Team with a very good start, though, to answer. They're set up to go 3 DPS. They could transition this if they really wanted to, but with with the framework they've got, I don't see them going any other way.
I mean, I like Elevate
Let's
here
make this
and the
interesting.
way that they've drafted in response to Sour Team, saying that there's obviously something up the sleeve. We've obviously
trespass
left
and are
Makoa, Khan,
unwanted,
and Torvald on
stranger.
the board. But what's our best version of getting 2 of those? And I think aggro tanks have clearly proven to work. Khan, Atlas have been some of the most deadly front lines that we've seen when paired together. And that's atypical for when we usually look at the Inara. They're going triple front line again, though, Nick. But this time with the Pip. So some more spot healing. Obviously, they can grab a Maldamba if they feel comfortable. They can grab a Ying at the edge of it, even a Saris, and have the Pip maybe utilize some more of his damage.
Yeah, I don't know if they might be going for another just big death ball strategy here, maybe running Mega Potion. We've seen Pip traditionally run this year exclusively as damage.
Yeah.
More DPS being picked up for Sour Team, though, kind of what we expected here. With the Genos and Barrack, it's the perfect way to go. You have so many abilities to attack from different angles as well to really fluster this death ball.
Land is now
And that is
under
not
water's
directly
protection.
like AoE punish like that Drogos was, or like a Willow might have even been, but Imani, I think, does a really good job in a cleave scenario. There's going to be a lot of dragons flying around on Serpent Beach.
And there's pretty good roaming as well from both of these squads with the Pip. The Makoa's relatively mobile with the Shell Spin. The Grok can be at times with the Tempest, and he can really help everyone else be as well. But the Khan, the Inara, they're a little bit more safe. So I don't know, Imani, if she's going to have as much pressure as Elevate may like, especially when trying to traverse those big gaps on Serpent Beach. Sour Team seem to be playing the map a little bit more, saying we're going to be mobile, we're going to be able to move, take high ground with the Imani, with the Maeve, and we're going to basically make sure that you cannot catch us.
Well, one cooldown is going to either win this team fight instantaneously or things are going to be made very interesting. No pun intended there. If the Frost Bomb connects onto potentially 5 people, that's where I think the death sentence has been issued.
Yeah.
But depending on what talent Grok is pulling in, if he goes for just complete CC immunity,
That's
I don't
true.
know. This could be a really wild death ball strat from Elevate.
Turrets could be nice for a little Maelstrom here. Let's see what happens. Game 2 underway. Elevate getting their hands dirty against another big PC team from the minor league. Sour Team already up 1 game. Let's send it down here.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Nick. Game 2 about to get underway here on Serpent Beach. We get another Makoa. He wasn't sort of the end-all, be-all last game, but he just kind of exacerbates the problem if you're on the opposite side and you're losing anyway, and then you have a Makoa to deal with. Not that fun. On the opposite side, though, Elevator now going to get the Makoa. 3 Chronoses to start off here. Yep. Makoa, Grok, all going Chronos.
Not something you normally see.
You
I'm
used to that,
trying to break that one down. I was so fixated.
Analyze.
I was so
Hey.
fixated on triple frontline, and like Sour Team did something, and I feel like they aren't expecting Elevate to go triple frontline. I expect they're going to keep doing it as long as it functions at least a little bit.
Right.
But they banned the Leon, they grabbed the Cassie. The thing that caught my eye is the fact that they picked Imani. We haven't seen Imani in a hot minute.
That's true.
And so I'm kind of wondering where they've gone with it. There's like 3 or 4 loadouts. Of course, you're still going to be running Splitting Ice because it's just free damage.
I mean, it's triple frontline versus triple damage. We often see the frontline, the triple frontline compositions come out on top. It is Elevate with those 3 tanky champions, a little extra survivability fighting from the point right now. 96%. Sour Team are going to have to go. They're going to have to engage. They can't get through these Makoa shields. They've been playing it so well. Trenzik putting the shields right in the right spot. Exodia goes down, but they trade out 1 for Zarini. The rest of the re-engage is going to start to come through, but they're just sticking together. They're not moving. Overtime's ticking away, and Elevate, they look poised to take point number 1.
Honestly, this is the one thing that their composition does really well. First off, you notice pretty much everyone except for Pip was right on one spot the entire time. Shields, totems,
Oh my God.
anything you might need, everything you might need. If you are a frontline, was provided for you, and then you just need time. And they ticked it up. It was 90% before anyone on Sour Team engaged, and that's when the scramble comes through, right?
Yeah.
That's when Sour Team are like,
Oh,
oh,
we
no,
have
we
to
have
go.
to get in
Yep.
there. And they didn't do it the way that you need to. I don't know if there's a way to break that down with their team. Like, you need a lot to bust it through.
I mean, Nick sort of mentioned on the desk, it's an interesting death ball comp that Elevate are bringing, and they've played like that. They've all sat
ball.
together the entire. But it's not so much a death ball. They're just staying there and picking you off 1 by 1. It's not the traditional death ball where you just run down the enemy team. Maybe a little bit more of that as they try to push here. Midnight results in Elevate backing off not trying to re-engage. The Makoa shields have just worked out so well. It shields the entire team, and they had so much staying power on that point.
And that's the biggest thing. If we could, I'd love to look at what Makoa is running, because there's certain cards that help the cooldown of that shield. And when he's running half shell, I have a strong feeling he's going to be doing it, just because it is going to be every 3,000 damage absorbed. So every time someone's shooting that shield, it's going to lower the shield's cooldown.
Yeah,
so he
not?
can just keep it up. And that's perfect for what they're trying to do. It's not something I think a lot of people run at level 5. It's not normally a level 5 Makoa aggressive frontline playstyle. But it's absolutely okay, I'm going to sit on the point, and I'm just going to shield, totem, shield, totem, shield, totem.
Over and over
we're just
again.
going to stand here until you stop us.
Elevate, they strike first. They're up 1-0 here. They'd like to get this one pushed in, make it 2. Overpower connects onto the back line. Sheepa is gone. He's playing the Cassie this time around. Perdo up high on the Imani. Elevate rolling together. Ultimate starting to fly through time and space. Plugs through. Shu is gone. That's a good chunk of healing, especially with the triple frontline comp that's now gone. The Dragon ripping through the health bars on the side of Elevate. That's a beautiful wall to keep it from getting the most value that it possibly can. Perdo just looking for something, not able to find anything. It's a 1-for-1 pick right now. There's some damage. They just can't deal with that. There's not enough damage to blow up the Dragon. Finally, it gets dealt with. But Elevate, they still have 30 seconds left, and they have a 5-strong team. Hook comes in on the low ground.
I mean, the same thing that kept him alive on the point's keeping him alive right now. Fortunately, again, Exodia is going to go down, but it's just, we're going to drop a shield, a wall, and a totem, and then if you can break through it, good for you. If you can't, we're going to pick you off one by one. And they find Perdo. They've gotten rid of Barrick, who's going to be coming up, but like, this is probably the worst matchup for Zerini in the world, where it's just, you have to stand on a point against this.
Sure, this is going to go in. I think they're going to be able to score this one. 1 pick, almost 2. The bowling ball buys some time, but Zerini falls. Sheepa from the high ground is able to answer back. Amani gliding around. Perdo's not going to be able to stay alive. Down from the high ground goes Jopi and Console. They strike. They're up 2-0 here on Elevate. Their death ball composition there, whatever you want to call it, they're a ball of some sort, and they are sitting on the point, and they push that one in. It's just individual picks, and it's all playing out for them right now.
They're answering the question of, like, what would happen if you made it so that Makoa's shield also healed? Just because the totem and shield are, like, working in conjunction here. And the answer is it's going to keep you alive for a long time. Like, 3 front lines, already difficult to burn through their health. They have champions to do it. Again, Big Game Cassie can eat through any one of them. But where's Perdo going to be able to be in any of this? Like, where's the Imani going to stand in it? I think using the Dragon was a good call for the defense. The fact that it didn't get anything is the worst case scenario for him. 49% not going to have that. That's probably the best tool they have in their toolkit just to burn down anybody on Elevate.
And we were scratching our heads at the Chronos. You build it so you can shield all that much more often. Yeah. You can totem that much more. I mean,
he answered the
question. You're going to have it on cooldown. You're going to have it on cooldown every single time. It was a head scratcher, but it's paying off here in the long run. Ninu tries to engage with the Midnight. That doesn't pay off even a little bit. He trades out his life. Exodia as well gets one onto Perdo on the back line. The hook pulls in Zerini. Bowling ball gives him a little bit of shielding, but he's certainly not going to be alive much longer. Despite being up 2-0, the fast cap in the advantage of Sour Team, they get 0%. All the kills are red, and they might get point number 3 here, Gordon.
And Exodia coming through and finding a kill this time. Like, losing him, I think, last round made it a little easier for Sour Team to be able to get in there. Keeping him alive, look, now there's extra healing. Now there's extra damage. All of a sudden, it becomes a lot easier to hold on to this point. And I've been looking at it. It's 2 seconds downtime where that shield is not available for Makoa. Like, it's 2 seconds of a window to jump in if you're Sour Team here.
Is that it? I mean, is that how you beat this? Do you have to wait for the shield to fall and hope that you can engage? I mean, when we saw them throw out the Midnight and they tried to engage on that, didn't work out, an immediate trade back. This might just be too hard to break.
And now I'm going to blow your mind.
All right, hit me, Gore. I'm ready.
Elevate chose Ice Mines.
Yeah, you're right.
This is Sour Team's map pick. This is where Sour Team wanted to go. And I think, again, they don't get a bad draft for this. It's something that you would run. Like, Amani's maybe on the fence overall in that composition, but Barrett, top-tier point tank. Genos, one of the best healers who has been banned for a lot of the impact that he can have on a game. Maeve, who has been banned for the impact she can have. Cassie doesn't get banned, but is picked damn near every game. Like, the only person not on that team that is not picked up often is Imani. And then you look at Elevate, and they get 2 top-tier picks. Makoa being run as kind of like the shield is working wonderfully.
Well, I'm assuming it looks similar to last time. Let's take a peek at the healing charts and see where everything stands. A little bit of an engage coming through. Yeah, and it's the exact same. They're kind of splitting down the middle. The Pip and the Grok healing, just supplemental healing onto the front lines, and it's paying off for him right now. 100,000 for Grok, 77,000 on the side of Pip as well. 78,000 as they're rounding this final corner. Sort of a double healer, triple tank composition, maybe half healer. The 2 sides add up to 1 whole healer. Whichever way you want to look at it, they're doubling that. from the side of Sour Team. Ninu with a double kill here is going to stall things out. Through time and space, rips in, gets a little bit of health drained, but no kills on the back end of it. Sour Team, they buy themselves some time.
The biggest thing for me, though, Elevate have not really expended too many ults. Like, they use Tempest. Tempest is one that you can just throw out there and see what happens, right? That's one of those ults that is very much, if we win this fight, we're going to win really hard. If we lose this fight, it's going to take a little bit of time. They're about to have Seismic Crash, 70% on that. They have an Ancient Rage. They have an Evil Mojo. And, well, they have an Overpowered. It doesn't seem to connect on anybody. Not enough to be able to find a kill there. So that's going to be one big ult down.
Look at that Dome Shield as well onto the backside. That's just Zarini needing to stay alive. Perdo's getting chunked out as well, but you got to find Ninu. He's causing just ruckus. He's causing havoc in the backline. That opens the door for Perdo to get a double kill. Wonderful is one of the last ones alive right now with 15 seconds left. They may have a chance to get back in there and get a touch. He's going to try to stagger himself out. 10 seconds remaining. There is somebody up there on the side on their horse. They might be able to get a touch on it. 5 seconds left. They might elect just to go back in, retry the mid fight, and end the game there. They've been very successful on it. The shell spin comes in. Not enough. Defense successful. Sour Team get 1 point on the board. And Elevate, they're going back into the mid fight that's worked out for them time and time again this game.
That's the thing. This composition isn't built to push.
Yeah.
The fact that they got one was pretty impressive. Yeah. This composition's built to stand on the point, and stand on the point really, really well and for a really long time, usually uninterrupted unless it's going to be some contest from Sour Team. And you can kind of see it. Like, that's the conversation right now. How do you deal with this? Right. How do you get in? Who do you target? And I think that's the biggest thing. They don't necessarily have someone who can find that pick. You know what I mean? They need to get rid of, I'd argue, Grok first. Yeah. Because I think he's the easiest. Once he's gone, the healing disappears a little bit more. You can deal with the pip on the side. Ninu's been doing that a lot throughout this game. Then you have to look at Makoa. Then it has to go to Khan. Then it has to go to Anara. Like, as much as it sucks, Anara is the last person that you want to look at.
Damage chart, all 5 are blue. Up top there, Dragon comes ripping through. Maybe this will be able to deal with it. Oh my god, so much damage coming out from Perdo. Are there follow-up kills? Exodia is the last one to go down. Their healing is immediately cut in half. The Dragon, so much value. 2 kills, 3 kills for the Imani. Jopi and Ninu each adding 1. That's how you answer the composition. You burn through their shields. You don't give them a chance to answer back.
I feel like I'm watching Game of Thrones here. The Dragon's just burning through whatever they want. Yeah. And that is exactly what you need. Like, Imani, again, so much damage from that Dragon. And when you looked at it, like, Elevate, they had a couple of bulldozers. Not a lot. They weren't really stacking up on that. They're not really prepared for that. They've been winning this. They haven't needed it. But there's going to be 2 clean kills. They have the re-engage if they want to, but it's 97-21.
They threw everything at the wall there. It pays off this time, but now they need to hold 1 point cap away from Elevate answering back, taking a map off of Sour Team. They know that there's Sheepa in this backline here on the Cassie, tumbling around, just trying to stay alive. If they're able to get this is a deep stagger if they're able to clean off this kill, but he's going to be able to get back, get with the rest of the team. And now Sour Team has a chance to take a 2nd point in this game.
I mean, doing whatever they can. They're standing on the point, but that's going to be a really good ult. Ninu, Perdo putting their names on the board once again. Ninu trying to do whatever he can, but it's Zarini, it's Jopi, it's everyone on Elevate falling down, and this should be Sour Team's point.
And it looks like it's going to be that way. They get a clean sweep. You see Sour Team win the initial fight. Huge value from the Dragon. Elevate win the re-engage. Sour Team come back. They win the re-engage on the re-engage. And they get point number 2. No game to win here for Elevate, but a potential game-tying push from Sour Team. And they're a team that's much more equipped to push this in, I would say, maybe than Elevate, depending on how they play it. The high ground is definitely an Elevate's advantage on this side. It's going to be hard to pick them off. So tanky. Lots of good healing as well from the red side. But this is a good chance for Sour Team to tie up this game.
I think it comes back to what happened in round 2, what happened this round, and a showcase of what should happen next round for Sour Team and what Elevate are trying to do right now. They need to get rid of Imani's Dragon. They need to force this ult when it comes up in 4% before this round ends, and don't let her get any charge. Like, do it whether or not it gets pushed, whether or not the timer runs out. You need to do it at the very end of the round to make sure that she's not going to have that anywhere near the next point fight.
Well, the Midnight answers an early kill from Elevate, but there's no kills to be found on that one. And they're just sticking together no matter what they do, and that's exactly how.
I don't think I've ever seen 5 people stack in this room.
I don't think I have either. Normally, that's a recipe for disaster. This time, it's paying off relatively well for Elevate, but if too much damage, the Splitting Ice is going to get so much value. That's a good Frost Bomb blocked off by the Con Shield. Ninu has 1 kill, and he's running amok in this backline as well. Could flank around. They're looking at the opposite door here. Khan calls the bluff. Ninu up and over, but he gets the execute. That's a good kill on the side of Sour Team. 4 strong for Elevate.
just bouncing around. There's going to be Makoa hook this time around. Ninu not going to live through that one, but still causing enough distraction. Look at the health bars. It's going to be candy from a baby there. Elevate just stood too long in an area where, again, like you said, Ninu not only able to find the flank, but for Amani, that's perfect.
Yeah, the
stand together.
Ice.
I'm going to love this.
Please do. Pays off for Sour Team. Could tie the game up. Midnight so fast charging, almost back up. Seismic Crash. Ancient Rage as well. Ready. Elevate 5 strong. Sour Team almost up to 5 on their ultimates. They're sticking together, but they're up on the high ground. They're going to have to drop down and get onto this payload at some point. You can see yet again Ninu in this backline on the Mave. Oh, that's a good frost bomb from Perdo. Yui's the first one to fall. Wonderful needs to stay alive, but he's so low. He's down there. He has no healing. Shu's able to answer back, but Ninu, that Mave, you can't forget about her. She's behind you. She's getting kills, and Sour Team adds point number 3.
And Sour Team have their win condition. They have the Dragon up. They are able to summon that if they want. They have all of their ults if they need it. Same thing can be said for Elevate. And this is going to come down. I mean, you know, Nick always, like, we harp on it as, like, who uses their ult first, which it seems very simple.
Yeah, right.
But sometimes it is, like, if you get a good overpower onto Amani here before she can find the dragon, if you can dunk her into the water, if you can find a perfect area, or just hold her still and let your team kill her, then you get rid of that ult. You get rid of one of their things. But the problem is then you have to deal with it when it respawns. You have to be able to find a good way to collapse on this. And I think that's going to be the complicated part for Elevate is how do you collapse? How do you keep them staggered out on Sour Team? You did it the first 2 rounds, but they didn't have that dragon. When that's an ever-present threat, how much bulldozer are you buying?
Yeah, a little bit too much dragon damage for Elevate last time around. They're playing this very slow. You can see Perdo, he's putting himself in a position to use that dragon. Overpower goes right into the shield, misses onto Zarini. That's a huge ultimate that's gone. They get some damage, force him to use his bowling ball. The Tempest as well. That's going to allow Elevate to just re-engage. Ancient Rage, they're throwing everything. Good shield to block off the Ice Bomb, the Frost Bomb from Amani, but here comes the dragon. That's their win condition. Isn't going to find the value they need. It's soaring up above. Wonderful. He's in a bad spot. He's getting burned away. The dash, a little bit of healing from Grok as well, keeps him alive, but that's not very long. Sour Team, they find a kill, and they're dancing on the point.
I mean, just trying to do whatever they can. There's going to be a Dome Shield to buy some time and a little bit of space here for Sour Team, but Inar's just standing in it. It's not going to work out for Yui. He gets burned down, and I think that's the biggest thing, not standing in the Dome Shield. It does a little bit more damage. It's been buffed recently, so you have to be careful with that one. Probably the safest place on the map, honestly, when the dragon's around is under a Dome Shield, even if it's the enemies, but it's not going to burn them through,
and it's
not going to be good for them.
Oh, the jump up from Ninu. Evil Mojo, no more. I'm going to execute you on my way down. He's been playing lights out on this Mave. They're at 99%. All the kills are blue, save one that Trensic has. 99%, all that's left. Sour Team could end this game here. They could go up 2-0, and they could be 1 game away from moving on in this bracket.
I mean, Sour Team hit their vibe. They knew what they wanted. They did it, and now they've been able to accomplish it. And admittedly, that one slipped out of Elevate's hands. Like, that just fell straight through their fingers like they were trying to hold on to sand. Sour Team got to where they needed to. They figured out how to make the Amani work. And then, of course, Ninu just decided to be Ninu and go around and kill anybody and everybody who came in his way.
Yeah, it worked out well for them that time. And that's a similar composition to what Elevate went for game 1 on Ice Mines as well. And that maybe opens the eyes. Maybe that's just what they're going to do. Maybe that's their answer to what some of the PC players are bringing here today. And they got 3 points. They were 1 point away from winning the game here in this case. But the Dragon just caused a little bit too much. Ninu dancing around as well in the back line. Just too much to pay attention to.
Well, I think back to what Shu was saying during the interview where he's just like, we just got to play our game. Like, we can't focus on what they're doing. I think Sour Team's doing the same thing. We're not focusing on what they're doing. We're just playing our game. We're picking things that are good for us.
Right.
And the argument, like, triple frontline, I would argue there's a small sliver. Like, if they get a bulldozer a little earlier, if they have a little bit more items online, maybe that Dragon doesn't come back and fight fight back. Maybe it doesn't win them that point. And maybe it's a 4-1, but unfortunately
this time it did. The Dragon did all of those things, and that nets Sour Team the win here. They're up 2-0, 1 game away from moving on in this bracket. Let's hear what the desk is thinking after game.
Thanks, guys. It's been a little different for all of us here watching because we saw Elevate go 3 points up against Sour Team for it all to collapse at the end. Sour Team take game 2 in Serpent Beach, but it is not an uncontested affair, and they actually really did look pressured out for most of that game.
Absolutely. I mean, there's certainly merits to those death ball style compositions. That's why characters like Willow exist.
Right.
And you saw the legitimate struggle from Sour Team. They just didn't have the items, and this is how it goes. When somebody drafts a composition like this, you're like, They need to win 4-0, 4-2 at the most, because the later this goes, the more those items are going to come online and the more this competition is going to struggle.
There was so much around the lineup that manifested not only with items, not only manifested with the style of mobility that they had, the ability to kind of wrap around this death ball composition, but then the ultimates. The ultimates started to play a huge difference maker, whether it was Exodia on the Pip or whether it was Amani on the Dragon. Being able to kind of get that up wasn't available in point number 1, which they ended up pushing in for 2 points, but it was available in some of the following points, ended up making a big difference.
It was available for point number 2. We should actually take a look at this replay. This was the turnaround moment, if you will. This was bathing Elevate in fire and blood. Let's take a look here back at the point number 2 Dragon fight, where Perdo managed to kind of rip everyone there on Elevate apart. So let me break this one down for you, chat. You see this little, hang on, let me get my circle tool here, because this is going to be critical.
It's really detailed.
You see Elevate right in there?
Yeah.
This is the danger zone.
Ooh.
You don't want to be here necessarily.
No, you don't.
And this is where things start to go wrong. So let's roll this one through here, nice and slow, and just take a look at Perdo's strategy. So he's coming up, and he sees exactly what he wants. 4 little chickens right under there. Let's pause this one just so I can get some real, artistic value out of this.
Yeah.
So they're here. That's not where they want to be. You start to see the fire really be a big problem for these guys.
All different colors.
Fire
as well.
is bad.
Yes.
Fire is real bad. You don't want to be standing in this. This might be the first rule of video games, Evan, is that you don't want to stand in the fire. So just to re-clarify, this is where you don't want to be.
But Nick, they all seem to be there.
They are.
And that's
they are,
maybe
Evan.
why
You're right,
things don't
exactly.
work
So
out
I'm going
for
to use
them.
my circle tool one more time, and
The
that is
danger
in
zone.
fact where they are. And so that's where things go wrong. We can take a look at just the tail end of this replay in full speed. The dragon just rips everyone apart. It is the ideal scenario that this dragon was designed for. You can see all these 170 ticks. He's cleaving onto everybody in this team fight.
There's some value.
It's never been easier for Perdo. He's going to take that one every day of the week.
Tier 1 analysis here from our Chair 2, Nicholas
say?
Keogh. Pretty Hair always bringing us the prettiest.
We're happy
of
to implement
replays.
the telestration for you guys
We're really
as well.
happy. It's adding,
just something we bring.
It's just another dynamic you would never have been able to understand with your simple minds. Nick able to bring you the elevated
You're
level
welcome,
of
Chad.
conversation in the Elevate matchup. There we go. We've got puns and obviously great replays. One of the great things about that, though, that I thought was they just didn't quite execute the death ball comp 100% of the way. Actually, Shu was looking at Exodia and saying, we're running a death ball composition and you go in by yourself. Clearly there was some miscommunication, but it's also the fact that, little moments like, hey, Grok Ultimate's at 96% in that replay. If it's at 100, maybe they could use it to get out and really escape the dragon. And then what does Sour Team do? Pretty much nothing at that point.
Yeah, there's a world that I think that one gets pushed through for 0. I mean, there's so much potential there. Elevate just needed to get those ultimates up a little bit sooner. I was looking at the final fight they kind of were able to take. Unfortunately, didn't have the resources to get the job done. So here we are on this map, number 3, Frozen Guard. This is selected by Elevate. That's worth noting. This is technically the loser's pick. After games 1 and 2, both teams do get a selection off the rip. These are best of 5s. You guys have watched a lot of best of 7s in the PPL. That's kind of what you're gotten used to. Switch gears here. We're doing best of 5s for this first little initial play-in, and best of 7s will start to come into play later.
And that means that this is do or die for Elevate, and they've got to win 3 in a row. It's got to be a reverse sweep. That is a tough task. But when you look at 8 points on the board for Sour Team, you look at 4 points on the board for Elevate. Although Sour Team with 2 wins doesn't mean Elevate haven't been at least engaging in these fights, which is
definitely
something we didn't know was going to happen. Honestly, a lot of people said it's going to be 4-0, 4-0, 4-0. Some people said it's going to be 4-3, 4-3, 4-3. Some people said Elevate were going to be the ones 4-0ing, although that might have just been Blue screaming that out at the top of his lungs. You can't get the man away from loving console, and I don't want him to stop loving it as well. Big shout out to our support there online, and we'll see Elevate continue to try and fight for their region, for themselves, for the tournament, because this is something that they don't want to let go easily. Sour Team on the brink, and they're going to ban out Grok as well as the Eevee and Tyra being banned out from Elevate to start.
And the Grok being a pretty solid ban, given what Elevate have had to pick so far to compete in the strategy that they look like they've wanted to run. I wonder if they'll switch it up at this point, because Death Ball and Frozen Guard, you know, Death Ball is what it is, and it is going to work a little bit better on some maps than others. You could try it on any map, right? There was no real cover on the point of Serpent Beach. They were just trying to will that payload into existence through sheer healing and shielding. You can do that on any map if they look to run that one back. Grok was such an integral part of it. I'm wondering how they'll pivot around not having him.
I just wonder how they're dealing with this moment. It's not that they came in with just complete and utter confidence, but losing is not something that they're used to, and being, you know, consistently on top is just a more of a comfort zone for them. So they're definitely uncomfortable here on the side of Elevate. And now that they've had the Grok band as well, it really forces, you know, none of the really grouping up Death Ball comps that they've been trying to run to have the same level of efficacy. I mean, you can go Grover. I mean, he's been available. He's worked a little bit. Jopi had some success on Ice Mines.
Let's just take a moment to bask in the greatness of what could be the first non-frontline ban game in years.
Oh, man, you're right.
Not a single one. Tyra, Eevee, Genos, and Grok. Everyone's open and available.
I thought I felt good.
We thought this might not be a tanky lineup, but everyone is available to be picked. They go for the Grover this time. He's somewhat of he's a living, breathing Grok totem, if you want to think about it that way. So maybe they still do look to go this Death Ball strategy.
With a lot of axes, you know, coming out as well. Never understand how he keeps having more. I just don't see where he holds them throughout most of the fights, but, you know, maybe he vines them in. Maybe there's just some stuff under the table that I don't really see, and I'm going to leave it at that. Sour Team, they know exactly what Grover's bringing to the table, but they've got Atlas and Khan. I don't think they're too worried. These are pretty much two of the best front lines in the game right now. But they do have to deal with the Makoa, and that can mean at least a little bit of pressure from Elevate if utilized correctly. Frozen Guard typically, though, is kind of a one-and-done type fight. So we will see some length. We will see some safety usually picked up from our PC teams. And that's actually where I like Grover in this lineup for Elevate, probably the most here.
Yeah, to be able to zone out. You're right. It can be so brutal. In those one-and-done team fights, if it's a clean break, if things get messy, then you will see those second attempts there. It's our team going for the triple front line themselves. But these are three frontliners that deal good damage. And not to say that Makoa is not that, but Atlas, Khan, and Barrick have the ability to really run you down. Really, with Tyra off the table, I'm wondering what Sour Team would round this out with. Triple tank plus a Tyra would be something that's very, very scary.
It's unfortunate because this is where I think, you know, Elevate might have wanted to go. They've been so comfortable running the triple front line that it feels like Sour Team maybe tried to do it before they could. And now Elevate go to the console special. It's half off. And I think Vivian and Victor are going to be their last hopes. They're going to bet it on what got them here. Two of the hit scan champions that are prevalent top picks, top bands in the console scene.
The Flying V composition. Sky last pick. That's actually pretty solid here. Not only is it going to deal well, it has percentage-based damage to shred these front lines, but percentage-based damage is good when you pair it with the high base damage of Sky as well. So not only can she deal very well, that's all she does, chap. I don't know if you knew this, but Sky just does a lot of damage. She's going to be able to blow up not only the front line, but the back line as well. So anywhere Ninu wants to go, he can be effective.
Well, it's going to be interesting because we've seen this Sky be really troublesome at times and also sometimes just be completely ineffective if she cannot do that thing that she's valued for. Vivian and Victor are going to be keeping her on her toes, that's for sure. She's going to have to play it well, but it doesn't look like too much of a challenge for what I believe will be Ninu on that one. We'll have to wait and see here. Sour Team trying to close it up 3-0 in this best of 5. Send Elevate packing. Let's see what happens.
The Nick analytics have been hitting all day. The in-depth breakdown on the Dragonfire, the Sky damage, you know, breakdown, the there's no way I'm going to say that. Analytics. I can't say that. Not a chance. Back to a more traditional lineup here on the side of Elevate. Makoa, Inara, Victor, Vivian, Grover. This is what we're used to seeing them play. Do you think returning to comfort here is good in the hands of Elevate?
Honestly, I think it's something they need. Like, the biggest thing, and it kind of shows not having one of their players who, again, you could argue is one of the best players in the world, is very obviously limiting what kind of draft styles they can play. Like, even Vivian on this map, like, it's not something you see on Frozen Guard as much. Victor is absolutely up there.
Yeah.
But again, I'm kind of caught out by the fact that Sky got picked up. It's going to be the third time in, 2 weeks, 3 weeks that we've seen her. And both times she's lost until now. Now it looks like she might have a little bit of a chance. Nina gets a little bit of a kill right there. And that's just good setup for Sour Team.
There's a big rotation here. Elevate actually found some of the first picks. But Sour Team really just closed in the gap, found a couple kills. Ninu starting to go on a tear here on this Sky. The more the Sky is able to just free roam without any answer, Elevate's going to have a little bit worse of a time. Early point goes the way of Sour Team. Remember, we're doing best of 5s here in this round. Sour Team 1 map away from moving on to the next round. Sending Elevate home. Game 1 of this MSI. This is a team that we haven't seen lose a single map the entire PCL split. And they've been very close up to this point. Game 1 heavily in favor of Sour Team. Game 2 goes 7. This one they need to hold on. Wonderful's going to find a kill, and that's going to help stall things out here for Elevate. And this is the place where you really look to slow this down. This first underpass really can buy you a lot of time.
And that's actually where Elevate's composition, in my eyes, works the best, because they have Victor, they have Vivian, they have nice long lines of sight from their base onto where that archway would be. And they can get aggressive right here. Still going to be a good moment for them, but it depends, I think, a lot more on where Victor's going to be standing, so Exodia has to perform. And you have to have Makoa kind of stepping up above and beyond. And when he's having to worry about Sky and everyone on Sour Team, like, his attention's going to be split, divided, and it might not work out too well for Chenzo.
It doesn't this time around. The barrage did come through from Exodia. That's an interesting interaction to look at as, you look at the Atlas wall, sort of a none shall pass sort of idea, you know, projectiles, all that sort of stuff can't go through it, but barrage can. So not only is Victor, I think, a good pick just in general, but especially when you have that barrage up, it's I mean, I wouldn't call it a full counter, but a counter to the Atlas wall, because you can put it straight through that wall, still find some damage on the back end if you're going to notice Sour Team grouping up behind the wall. That's a good hook, but an immediate stun comes out. Sheepa's going to round the corner, Trenzik back to base. 4 members of Elevate, they're up top, they're trying to defend, but that's going to be a shrouded Sky who goes up top and finds some damage. Kill number 2, though. 2 kills, Victor, Vivian. They're getting the kills this time around. Sour Team have to back off.
Doing whatever they can, just trying to dump damage down into the payload. And it's working out well for them. No one's going to be left standing. Sentinels have been popped. There's 45 seconds left on the clock. Like, that's the biggest thing.
That's not an end
you were
fight.
able to find it. You were able to hold on. But that wasn't Sour Team at full, we've got to push this. That was Sour Team at, well, let's see if we can get it in there. Once you lose Sky, once you lose Khan, you're just kind of seeing what's left. What else can we accomplish? Like, if you push it in a 3v5, that's awesome. You don't have to. Fall back, you regroup, and you still have time to be able to get in there. You burn 1, 2, 3 ultimates on the side of Elevate in these last couple of fights. So you're coming out with a win, even if you don't push this.
I mean, the only one I think Elevate will be okay trading back is the Sentinels as those recharge. First kill, healer onto healer. Sour Team without healing for another couple seconds. He is going to come back. They're not going to fully capitalize on it just yet. 5 seconds left. If they're able to hold the high ground, Shua's coming up big here at the end of this game. 2 kills from Grover onto that side of Sour Team. That was very close to going through, but a steadfast performance there from Elevate keeps that payload from going under. 2
big questions come to my mind at the end of that fight.
1.
How did Jopi get up there?
Don't know.
And why was he up there? Like, I don't know how he got up there.
Why?
And I don't know why he decided, like, that was just not the place to be. I can't think of any scenario where that is the place to be.
Well, at a
None
glance,
of his team was with him. Like, there was no one to heal. He just kind of ran up onto Elevate's high ground. No, he might have been grabbed.
You're right. I think he might have been.
That must have been a hook. There's no way that wasn't a hook.
The Dread Serpent was probably just trying to keep himself alive. I didn't notice how he made it up top there, but he did at the end of it. And the Dread Serpent did end up coming through. And at a glance, you would look at it and say, "What? Like, this is a high ground, Dread Serpent onto the attacking team down low." And then, like you said, you realize, oh, no, he is on the attacking team. He's just way out of position. Regardless, though, Elevate net the defensive point on that one. The Ancient Rage buys some time for Trenzik, but he's getting chunked away right now. It's going to be a one-on-one on the backside with the Atlas. Ultimate starting to fly. Ninu's still alive. He's proven to be more than a thorn in the side if you keep him alive in some of these fights. Sour Team with kill number 1 as things maybe start to level off.
And the biggest thing is these moments, right? Ninu falls back. He recognizes when to not get aggressive, which I think is probably the best thing about Sour Team right now. They know when to fall back. It's one of the strengths that we've mentioned about, like, teams like Na'Vi.
Yeah.
Just knowing when to not be on the point, when to give up a little bit of percentage and be able to come through. But it hadn't affected the percent because he's Sky. He doesn't have to be near the objective. He can dance around and do whatever he wants.
He's staying alive this time. Wonderful's trying to answer back. The Sentinels are up for him. That's going to be a lot of extra damage, but hey, say his name game again. He'll appear. Ninu a double kill in this one. The sky's alive. Make it a triple. Sour team, point number 2.
Just coming through, doing whatever they need to. Those poison bolts hit a lot harder than I think a lot of people will think of.
Yeah.
And you have, what, one Illuminate, I believe I've seen on Elevate to be able to come through, and it's coming from Makoa. And again, okay, now they have 4 to be able to come through. I have a feeling some of those weren't fully purchased until just recently.
I think the deaths at the hands of Ninu bought them the Illuminates in this case.
Trinsic opted in for that early on because we've mentioned how strong Sky is as a counter to Makoa.
Yeah.
Ninu doesn't care about Makoa in half of these fights. He hasn't been going for Makoa first. He's been looking for Shu, and a lot of them he's been finding them.
That's such a high-value time bomb in there. They were all funneled in there basically in this small hallway. Lots of damage. Finally, Ninu gets shut down. Elevate trade out 3 for 2, though. And that allows this payload to keep moving forward. 2-1 is where we stand. Sour team could set it to game point and set point here. Elevate could be going home if Sour team are able to push this one through and get one more. It's do or die now. They need to find the defense. Ultimate's ready. Just a couple on the side of Sour team. 1, almost 2 on the side of Elevate. That barrage could be the key to holding off this defense. Still a minute and 20 seconds left, though.
Couple of good shots here. Honestly, just one solid play from Sheepa could end this. That's one of the things we've seen about Alice.
Zodia's down now.
From the likes of people like Phoenix. And when you, lose him, you actually lose a lot of pushing power. You lose his exile, you lose his wall, you lose his ability to just set back, elevate, and put them into bad positions.
Well, he goes down before he's able to use the exiles, but still 55 seconds remaining. This payload is a hair's breadth from going through. First kill in this engagement. Perdo onto Trinsic, firing away here onto the front line, technically back line of Sour team. They're all that's left. The Sentinels are just going to rip through Perdo right now. That shield might as well not be there. Wonderful buys some space for Elevate, and they have 35 more seconds to hold this defense.
Time bombs coming up. Exiles are available. They don't have overpower, but admittedly, in the next 30 seconds, probably not going to charge up the Dread Serpent either. She's got a Dome Shield. Like, if you want to lock this down, you can lock it down.
Right.
Is it worth it is the other question you have to have. And I
balance.
think that's honestly the answer is no. I don't think it's going to be worth giving Elevate comeback mechanic. Even though you've been in charge of the point fights here as Sour team, I don't see them wanting to dump everything here. They might go for 1 ult, but dumping in 2 or 3, they've already jumped 2.
And if that time bomb finds some damage, it could be
There's
good.
3.
Seismic crash from Elevate comes through. They're using everything. Whirlwind ripping through as well. That buys some healing. Wonderful. That's going to keep him alive. A double kill from the Vivian before getting traded out. Now it's up to Yui. He needs to stay here. Overtime is ticking away. Sour team cannot leave it, but the kills are good. Exodia's in the back line firing away. It's a double kill for the Victor on the back of a double kill from the Vivian. And Elevate, they defend again to tie it up at 2.
Well, they dropped everything they had, and it didn't really net anything, honestly. Like, the payload moved from where it had regressed to back to where they had originally pushed it to. Like, it didn't get any closer to the payload or to the conversion that it had been. And so now I'm kind of wondering, like, if the mindset was push, get a 3-1, just be in control.
Right.
They've been very heavily in control. I mean, this was, 100-0. Like, there were a couple of touchdowns from Elevate, but they never got a % on their side. But was it all you could do, no ults versus ults? Like, like, when you come into this with nothing, are you going to be able to? They have a Dread Serpent this time around, so they'll at least control some flow of the fight, but how much of what Ninu did was set up because they had some ults maybe corralling Elevate, and how much of it was just Elevate kind of poorly choosing a positioning to be in?
Sure. They have good damage numbers on the side of Elevate. Granted, a lot of it's been on the back of hanging back and just absorbing the damage. You get a free-firing Victor and Vivian. It tends to be that way. Different strategy here from Elevate. They're going to wrap around the backside, stay together, hopefully catch out Ninu because he's just been causing too much pain. That's a good hook in onto the back line. The Dread Serpent is going to come out. That's going to buy him some space. Jopi's so low, but the Slither gets him out. Not before Wonderful cleans up the kill. That's another double kill for Vivian. That netted him a defense last time around. The hook from Trinsic, good yet again. 3 kills in this engagement for Wonderful. A couple for Shu, 1 for Trinsic. And Elevate, 5 streaks. They're controlling the point.
A lot of room that has been opened in the past. A lot of areas that have been open for Sour team to be able to aggress into weren't open that time.
Yeah.
They didn't have the ults to be able to do it. If you had anything happen there, like that Dread Serpent would have been amazing if Ninu lives 3 seconds longer. Like, if he's just able to get 2 poison bolts off, he's able to do a ton of work there. And right now, I mean, Ninu gets a kill, but they've lost 2 members on the side of Sour team. This point is not going in their favor.
That would have been a beautiful time bomb. Just doinks off the roof there. Doesn't get in where he wanted it. The hook from Trensic's going to maybe seal this one up. Jopi's the last line of defense. And Elevate, not only do they win that initial engagement, some good kills. Wonderful, starting to come alive right now. they could push for the win here, Gore.
I mean, definitely being able to play this and probably the most stalwart fashion. And again, not a composition like the last few where it's like, cool, we're just going to stand on the point and out-survive you. Like, that was well fought from left to right, from back to front, wherever they want to. Everything worked out well there. The barrage was a little off, but I mean, that's just finding something to complain about at that point. The biggest thing is if they can push in, find a conversion. Like, Sour Team's composition isn't like the best defense, but it's still triple frontline. It's still going to hold its own against pretty much anything.
Well, this is important. This is where Elevate need to step up. Of course, you want to end it here. You don't want it to go to another point fight. It's not looking like it's going to play out that way just now. Minute and 45 seconds left. Up to the top of the wall goes Yui here in this case. And then that raises the question, if you really look at it, I mean, Yui's a very good player, but you're missing Emmett Payne. One of the best players in the game and arguably the best player on the side of Elevate. That could be making a difference in some of these fights. Yui finds a kill on his way out. A little bit of cheekiness there. Elevate, though, with a minute and 20 seconds left. They need to fight back to this payload.
You know, you mentioning him, like Emmett Payne missing for this team. The biggest thing is he was one of the ones, like, he's the only console player we've seen running Cassie. He's the only console player who has played a lot of the DPS that we've seen function well on PC and make it work on the sticks. You look at Wonderful. Wonderful's a wonderful player. Yui is taking where Wonderful would be, or where Trinsic would be, and then Wonderful is where Trinsic is. Like, it's one of those things, they've had to kind of make a couple of swaps to make this work for their team. And while Wonderful can make it work, you're still playing at that deficit. So it begs the question, you know, we've seen them 4-1, 4-3. This one right now, they're leading 3-2. Like, if they had Emmett Payne, would it be a difference? I think so.
Maybe. Yui has a double kill on the Inara this time around. And now Elevate, they stormed the gate. Sour Team are going to be respawning into a full-blown onslaught from Elevate right now. The Sentinels are out firing away. Perdo has to heal up. Ninu gets brought out as well. That's an overpower, though. If you don't want to deal with it, he gets the kill off the map. Wonderful's flying away, and he trades out Perdo and Wonderful. That's a 1-for-1. Time bomb onto the low ground. 15 seconds remaining. Yui's still alive. Shu doing as much healing as he can, but the kills are all coming up red. An initial beautiful play from Wonderful to get the kill as he's flying away. It's not enough. Sour Team hold firm on defense, and we're going to another .7.
Just being able to hold it here, but this is probably where things get a little bit more nerve-wracking. I mean, it's the same point fight you had last time, with more items, right? Maybe more ults here as well coming into this one. A little more stress, I think you can kind of tell, for Elevate. This is big. I mean, not only is this their potential to get knocked out and go home, but this is going to maybe set the pace, the tone of the day, right? Elevate have come in, and a lot of people have been saying, and I think rightfully so, they are the best team on console. At least seemingly on paper. I think you can put them up there with Flashpoint, maybe have them interchangeable, especially with a sub. I think Flashpoint can take the cake, but this was like the best bet, I think, is the biggest viewpoint for it. And so they need this point, not just to stay alive, but really, I think, for their morale.
I agree. I mean, it could set the tone for the rest of the day. Elevate, Sour Team. Sour Team up 2-0. They need to win this one. Sour Team wins this mid-fight. It's game over. It's set over. Elevate goes home. If they win this one, we're going to a game 4. Early point percentage goes the way of Sour Team. Wonderful's been the guy to watch. He's stayed alive so well. No overpower. 22% is all that's left. The Sentinel is up for him, though. He finds the first kill onto Sheepa. He's setting the tone for this point fight, ripping through the shield of Zarini. Elevate, they're finding the kill. Sour Team have answered back with 1, but they're pushed back, and Elevate have a good chance to zone.
I mean, just trying to do whatever they can. The Sentinels being popped means a lot more damage here for Wonderful. But it's how well can he hold this angle? How well can he hold the side?
Oh my God.
And can he find Ninu? That would be a huge pick.
They might need to. He's so low. But he bites off just a little bit too much. Wonderful wraps around the corner. He gets traded out instead. They have 72%. Plenty of time to get back. That's a backline. Dread Serpent sends 3 the opposite direction. Good answer back from Yui. Keeps himself alive in the high ground. But the gates have been stormed in the opposite direction. Sour Team answer back. Sour Team are on the point. Sour Team could win the game.
And they're doing everything in their power to do so. That's going to be 3 clean kills, 4 total. Wonderful. You're left by yourself, and he is not going to be able to accomplish it.
That's tough. Sour Team find the win. 3 straight games, 2 straight .7s, I should say. Elevate did not go down without a fight this time around. 2 .7s, could have won it on either one, but it is Sour Team that comes out on top today. Valiant effort from the console boys. It is a 3-0, but that was a close 3-0.
And it looked really good, and again, on paper, you have to wonder. I mean, 2 4-3s in a row, a lot of control. Maybe they were able to have full team, full power. They push this 4 games at least, maybe go all the way to 5, and then the question does come down, but just missing one key element. As good as Yui is, it was not the same impact. I think those shuffles kind of showcased themselves today.
The big talk of the conversation is how do these console teams perform here coming into LAN against these minor league teams. Make no mistake, Sour Team is one of the best, if not the best, minor league teams we have. Lots of veteran talent on that side, and Elevate, they fought till the end, a couple 4-3s. Doesn't go their way this time. Sour Team find the win in set number 1. Desk, how you feeling?
Well, it's a bit of a mixed emotion here for me personally. I think you could see the pain on Elevate's faces for coming in, traveling far, and unfortunately losing in set 1 and kind of that being it. Sour Team, obviously, they've got a lot to do, a lot to prove. The story might have been more about them at this point. But Elevate, not quite able to get the job done. It was not an unexpected result, but it's something that, you saw at least there was a moment. They could have really turned around some of these games and taken a few off of Sour Team.
And when you look at Frozen Guard specifically, I mean, that was a damn close game. There was not one but 2 opportunities Elevate. If they were able to end it there, in the previous round, Sour Team just had so much. They had Overpower, right, Dome Shield, Dread Serpent, Time Bomb. They had just too much to fight into. That sets up a really nice 3-3 fight for Elevate, to the point where I'm not meaning to pin this all on Wonderful. There's a lot of things that could have gone differently. But if he manages to get that little kill on the Sky, if Sky doesn't manage to stay alive there and body block, and then Wonderful ends up dying, even if Wonderful managed to not get the kill on the Sky, but to live and to go on in that fight, they might have won that map, man. That was very, very close. I really think they could have got it done.
They all ended up having moments where little things mattered, and the Sky played a pivotal role. Ninu piloting that to much success for the side of the Sour Boys, as they ended up cleaning this one up in a 4-3. But, it was that push beforehand that allowed it to go to that final round when it could have ended for the way of Elevate, as they led 3-2. All ultimates used, essentially. It was a full gamble. It didn't pay off. That's got to be one of the big reasons why they were left shorthanded in this final point fight.
Definitely. So much to talk about. Ninu, you can see once he gets rolling in these fights, look how fast he is moving. That's the victory rush.
Yeah.
Proc being activated. He's able to move around this fight so quickly, chaining these kills together that he doesn't even need to buy nimble at this point. He's flying around faster than any of these other characters, staying up close and personal, and also being able to rotate out. Sky doesn't have mobility, so for a lot of reasons, snowballing these fights is very, very effective for Ninu.
And it was one of those where you really do look at those moments where if Ninu's able to go and do that, it's a triple kill, quadra kill. No one else really needs to be around. They just need to distract so that Ninu can do that thing. The same thing would have gone for Wonderful. That Vivian could have been in the same exact position if everyone else was just distracting. It really does kind of balance on the top of a nail, so to speak, that of a nail. It's just so interesting how these little things can matter. But it's a great sign, I think, going forward, knowing that, Console did not fall over. This was, especially with half the team, a few members of the team still playing with controller, that wasn't as, they looked like they could have been in the same league. That was closer than some PML games. Let's put it that way.
Let's absolutely put it that way. Let's talk about that for a second. I mean, their best game was that Frozen Guard, and that's when they weren't going for anything corny, anything of that death ball nature. That was just a legitimate composition drafted to the strengths of Console. Be it Vivian Victor, we're not going to be surprised to see a Console team pick that up. They looked damn good and got damn close to taking a map off Sour Team.
Well, let's take a look at the bracket as we start to get through a little bit of our day here. Sour Team grabbed the win over Elevate, knocked them out, and they'll move into the semifinals, which we'll take a look at tomorrow. Flashpoint and Sanguine, they're going to be up soon to be able to showcase their skills. The team from North America in the PML, and the team from traditionally Europe here, who have a new North American star in Skeppy, going to be joining them as they take on. It would be a star-studded match, a lot of fun things to look at for that one, and I'm sure we'll be hearing from the winners of this last game very, very soon as well. As they're getting set up, Nick, any final thoughts for this first matchup?
I think not only did we see not a full-strength Elevate, that's definitely some big caveats to sort of carry with them, not to make excuses, but they did go for something a little bit more cheesy in the first 2 games. That almost worked, and then almost working again when going for something a little bit more standard of what we expect the Console teams to be drafting later on. I'm very, very curious to see what these full-strength Console teams are able to do with maybe more standard drafts that they would otherwise be wanting to pick up with having everybody available.
Awesome. Well, we've got the winners here. Sour Team will be moving on. We've got Zerini and Perdot to give us some thoughts about how they feel after moving on in this tournament and continuing their play in the MSI.
Well, guys, welcome back to LAN, and congratulations 3-0 to start off the MSI for you guys. It was close, a couple 4-3s there to round out the day. Just in general, obviously, this is the first cross-play event. Some interesting compositions from the console side. Did you expect sort of the death ball composition that they brought to Serpent Beach specifically?
We weren't expecting it on Serpent Beach, but we expected the comp and the Totem Grok and even Healer Sky. Like, it's weird and it's hard to play against, but you know, we got it. So yeah.
That's right.
So there were a couple of 4-3s through that set on Serpent Beach and on Frozen Guard. Was there ever a point where you guys were a little worried? Like, I mean, on Serpent Beach, you were down 3-0 at one point. Was like it looking like, oh man, we're going to go to game 4? Or did you think you had control every step of the way?
Their comp is falling off, right? And we're just going to get stronger and stronger. So yeah, we expected it to be hard at the start and yeah, loosen up afterwards. And like towards the end, it was really, really easy. But if they get a 4-0, then yeah, then we're out. So.
If I'm remembering the bracket right, the next opponent you'll have will be whoever wins the next set. It's Flashpoint and Sanguine. Do you think one of those, like, do you think you're going to see Flashpoint? Do you think you're going to end up against another console team? Or do you have a team that you'd prefer to go